Hello, I'm Reverend Michael Mugford. I'm part of the ministry team at Cole Harbour Woodside United Church, along with the Reverend Krista Elizabeth Wynn. I want to share a few words with you today. I'm in the Serenity Garden of Cole Harbour Woodside United Church, surrounded by trees and plants and a beautiful bubbling fountain. And I want to share some thoughts around spiritual practice. This is a beautiful place where one can come and meditate and think and be a part of a little piece of nature. I've never been able to find a particular spiritual practice, however, that has held me for any length of time. I have prayed the scriptures with the Lectio Divina, the divine reading. I've used meditation and silence and visualization. None of them really stuck with me. I have grown and I've come to know, however, how deeply a spiritual person I am, and I have accepted that I simply will bounce from practice to practice and be happy to do so as long as I am continuing to keep my connection with God. I recently came across an article by Father Richard Rohr where he offers some insight into the ways of Brother Lawrence, who was a French Carmelite monk of the 17th century. And Rohr wrote, Lawrence, who was a gentle and humble man who, despite his lack of education, just radiated holiness, not from an abbot's chair, but from the kitchen where he worked. I read the article that Father Rohr shared, and I was excited because the first line that he records from Brother Lawrence is, I don't practice any particular prayer discipline. I have no specific technique to meditate. I know these methods work for many people, but for me, when I tried them, I just spent all of my time rejecting my wandering thoughts over and over. I have tried to practice these disciplines, but now I don't worry them anymore. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is me to a T. I couldn't put it any better. And I share with you now what Brother Lawrence wrote as interpreted by Ellen Sanna from her book, Brother Lawrence, A Christian Zen Master. These are his words. Why should I fast or set aside a particular prayer time or deny myself in some way if every moment I am consciously practicing love, doing all things for God's sake? Then I don't need to worry about these spiritual methods. My thoughts are the biggest obstacles to this way of living in my life. The little useless thoughts that drift through my head, making mischief, distracting me. I've learned to reject them as soon as I notice them. They have nothing to do with the reality at hand, nor with my eternal salvation. And once I stop paying attention to them, I can get back to communing with God. He goes on to say, I have abandoned all particular forms of devotion, all prayer techniques. My only prayer practice is attention, and I carry on a habitual, silent, and secret conversation with God that fills me with overwhelming joy. When we walk in the presence of God, the busiest moment of the day is no different from the quiet of a prayer altar. Even in the midst of noise and clutter, while people's voices are coming at you from all directions, asking you for help with many different things, you can possess God with the same serenity as if you were on your knees in church. He concludes, I can't always maintain my focus on God, of course. I'll suddenly discover that I've barely given God a thought in a good long while. Usually what gets my attention is that I've noticed how wretched I'm feeling. And then I realize I've forgotten God's presence. But I don't worry about it too much. I just turn back to God immediately. And having realized how miserable I am when I forget God, my trust in God is always that much greater. The divine presence occupies the here and now. So if you are not aware of this, become so. And take heart, those of you who struggle. God is in the every moment of every day, and all we need to do is be aware of it from moment to moment. Just some thoughts for you today. Peace.